There's one more thing I like to try, and that's having the logo in front of my left bottle and behind my right bottle. Before I do that, I'm just noticing I made a little mistake here. If you'll notice on my pages, I've got this set up as facing pages. Command Option or Control Alt P, document setup. This should not be facing pages, and I should get rid of this, although I don't have any master page items, but just in terms of a clean, properly organized document, I don't really need that. This way, when I Command 0, I'm sure that I'll be looking at the page in the middle of my workspace instead of having it off to the right side like it's the page 1 of a book. Okay, I want to put the Masimo's logo between the two bottles, which I can't really do with just one iteration of my image. So to do that, I'll need a duplicate copy of my PSD in my InDesign file. File size should always be a consideration, but adding a second iteration of the same image in InDesign does not appreciably change the file size because they both refer back to the same PSD. I don't need that background I put in, so I'll go to my layer palette. And this rectangle right here, I can select that by clicking on this little square and then just either hit the delete key or hit the wastebasket at the bottom of the layer palette. Then I need a copy of this, so I'll copy and paste this. I can't use Command F, paste in front, or Command B, paste behind, like in Illustrator. Those commands have other meanings in InDesign. Command F is Find Change, which is an important tool for text editing. And Command B, of course, is Text Frame Options. What I can do is what we did on the business cards, which is Command C copy, Command Option Shift V, paste, and that's exactly in front of my other one. I can Command open bracket to send that back on the layer palette so it's the back object. And then on that, if I right click here, Object Layer Options, because that's the one that's selected, the back one. If I didn't have that selected, I just right click here. I would be selecting, if I hold the Command or Control key and right click, I can get select, say last object below, and that will be the back one. Any way you choose to select it. I make sure I've got the back one, and then I can right click, and again it still assumes I have selected the bottom one. Object Layer Options, and on this one I will turn the left bottle back on. I got the two bottles. I don't like the composition now. I think one thing I want to do is with my logo, and again I can right click on this and select the next object below, or I could just click on this square in the layer palette to get that object. Masimo's logo 3 EPS is what it is in my set. I'm going to scale this down a little bit. I want this to be about here, I think. And I didn't hold the Command and Shift key at the same time, so I held the Shift key and scaled the frame down, but not the logo. What I need to do is, in my control panel with the object selected, click on Fit Frame to Content. No, click on Fit Content to Frame. And actually I think it could be just a little bit bigger. I'm going to double click in here and scale this up until I think I want it about that big, and I'm going to slide it up using my arrows on the keyboard, or I could just use my hand and move it. I think just clicking it up until I see where I want it there with the top of the red triangle touching my margin guide. I'll scoot it over this way until it reaches the margin guide. I'd like it to be over a little bit more, and that means I have to move the bottles around. I can do that by just right clicking on this Masimo's and edit original. And what do I want? I'm going to close some of these up so there's not so much open in my layer palette. The left bottle, I want it smaller and back a little farther. Command T transform. This will turn off the smart filters. That's okay. Zoom out a little bit. And I'm going to scale this down. And this is a change in Photoshop where I don't have to hold the Shift key to constrain when I'm scaling. Actually, if I hold the Shift key, it will not constrain. So I want this a little bit smaller, and I want it back about here. And I'll hit the return key to accept that. The right bottle, I'll select that in the layer palette and then Command T transform. Again, it'll turn off the smart filters while I do this. And I'd like this over this way a little bit more. I'm going to try about there. That looks like plenty of room. I think I'm going to change this shadow slightly. That's this one right here. Command T transform. Again, it turns off the smart filter. and right click and skew. I think I want this to go back just a little more this way. And then I think I actually need a feather mask on that. I'm going to take this one and copy it up here, because I'm actually going to delete this shadow that I'm not using. That was part of a shadow demo for another class. I really don't need that anymore. And on this one, I'm going to change the gradient. Take my gradient tool and drag a gradient here. And let's try about like this. Wrong direction. I'll go this way. Maybe that looks pretty good. And I'd also like to change the color of that. That's a smart object, so I'll double click on that and open it here. Command U, hue, saturation, and lightness, and see if I can get this a little bluer looking, because the other one looks bluer. That'll probably do. Command S, save. Command W, close that. Let's see how it looks on my light color background. Still not as blue as the other one. Let's try that again. Command U, and get this to be bluer. Let's try that. Command S, save. Command W, close. It's okay. I think it'll be fine. All right. In the interest of saving file size, I'm concerned about file size on these projects. If this were an actual commercial project, the final file sent to the printer would be only the press-ready PDF of the completed ad. But as a student project, you will be submitting a packet that includes the INDD, the PDF, and the linked files, the EPS and the PSD. That can be a large package even with zip compression. If I'm just moving files around for myself on my computer or my flash drives, I'm not concerned about the file size, but uploading and downloading large files can be a problem for some internet services where bandwidth or data limits may apply. Also, student storage space on Canvas is allotted and limited. You have a given amount of file storage space for all of your courses combined. So it's a good idea to pay attention to file size and try to be efficient. Because this is not a commercial project, I don't need 300 pixels per inch, which is why when we started I said use something that's at least 200 pixels per inch at least 8 3/4 inches wide so it will fit our ad correctly. Command Option I, I'm going to look at my image size. I set this up at 9 by 12 at 200 pixels. I'm going to go down to 8.75 because that's the size of my ad including bleeds, and proportionally that goes down to 11 2/3. That still gives me a little latitude up and down if I need to adjust position vertically in my layout, and that will slightly drop my image size. What else can I do? Well, I could eliminate layers I know I'm not going to use. I have this extra salad here that I was experimenting with Paint Daub's filter, which I decided I'm not using. I'm just using that to darken the background. I don't actually need that. I've copied the shape of the salad bowl. I actually did a clean vector drawing with my pen tool, a clean vector shape of my pen tool to make a mask for that. I can delete this entire layer. And to darken that below, I'm using a dodge and burn layer. So on this dodge and burn layer, I'm going to take my burn tool and let's see, highlights. There's some lightness in there, so maybe I should use a little highlight. And also the mid-tones. I've got a low exposure of like 14, so I do this gradually. And I'm just kind of painting around in there to darken that some. Let's see, how's that look? That looks pretty good. How's it look on my other background? That'll do. I could maybe go a little darker. Shadow. A bit more in the mid-tone. Okay, that's my bowl shadow. I've got this extra shadow over here. I could probably get rid of that one. I have one here that I'm not even using. That was another demo from an earlier class. I'll just delete that whole layer. And this one, just delete that whole thing. I'm going to move the dodge and burn layer below this bottle. Be careful not to go into the bottle. I did, so I'm going to pull this above here and then pull the bottle above the dodge and burn layer. Make sure that I'm on the layer. Take my burn tool, and I'll kind of do this quickly at 35% and just kind of burn a little bit in here and a little bit under that one. I might need to do highlight because that is a light area. And midtones maybe. Yes, midtones. Okay, a little bit more under there and a little under here. So it seems somewhat like the shadow under the bowl. And that's pretty good. Now, another couple of things I wanted to do here is the bottle. I don't like the perspective. I think it might be a little too extreme. So I'm going to double click on this. Open in Illustrator. Got some missing fonts here. I'd like to go and clean this up. Find font. And I'm not even sure where some of these fonts are located in the job, but I am primarily using Futura in my label, so anything that is calling for a Helvetica, I can change those to the Futuras that are already in the document. Helvetica Neue to Futura Medium, change all. Light to Futura Standard Book, change all. This is from a different set of Futuras, different foundry. So I want to change it to the one that I'm actually using, which is this one, Futura Standard Heavy from Linotype. And that one to Futura Medium. There. Now I just have the Futuras I'm sure I'm using, and I'm not sure where the Myriad Pro is, but it's a font that is installed, so I'll just leave that. In my 3D Revolve, I decided that the perspective was too extreme for where I have it positioned in my layout with the view of that bowl. So I'm going to cut that to 40. And likewise the dressing, cut that to 40. Incidentally, I had already made some other adjustments. This had been a 30-degree rotation, and I cut it back to 16 for this and 18 for the other to get them to look like they matched. This was modified into a group, so I can't really edit that the same way, but it seems to be a pretty good angle, so I'll leave it. And I don't need this little text box here. That might be the, let's just see. Yeah, that was the Myriad. So Command S save, Command W close. And that should immediately update here, and here it is updating, and that updates all iterations of that smart object. So there's 2 here and there are 2 here, but all of them get updated the same. On my desktop, this is showing us a 91.6 megabyte image. Now that I've eliminated some things and resampled it to 8 3/4 inches, the minimum that I actually need, by 11 2/3 at 200 pixels per inch, I'll save this over that one. And if I do that again, you can now see it's down to 63 megabytes. I've made it 1/3 smaller, 2/3 the original size. So I've saved a lot of data, a lot of bandwidth there. So save this. I'm going to leave this open because when it updates in InDesign, you can see where everything fits. I actually still want this bottle, I think, smaller and a little farther back. So that's why I left it open in Photoshop. I'll open my Photoshop, and in the layers, select my left bottle, Command T transform, and make this a bit smaller, and you can move it back a little more. And at this point I regret doing this dodge and burn on this one. I'm going to put that about there. I'll just select this area on that layer and Shift function key 5, fill that with 50% gray, so I eliminate that. Okay, let's try that. Command S save and go back and look at my InDesign file. Didn't update, so let's update links. I think that'll work for me. I got 2 of these. I need to update both of them. I could have just selected up here and updated both of them. Okay, now what do I need to do? I need the front bottle. I don't need a background in it. I'll turn off both of the bottom layers. No problem there. I'll select the back one, object layer options, turn those off. I could turn off the right bottle in this one. And turn off the left bottle in this one. And also that burn layer. My burn layer isn't working the way I expected. And back to Photoshop. I'm going to group my dodge and burn layer with my backgrounds, Command G. Save this again and see if that resolves my problem. And it does. So I need to group that burn layer with the background to keep it from acting strangely. Okay, again, the front one, this will change my layer options. So I want the backgrounds turned off so that I can see the logo. I want the left bottle turned off so it's not in front of my logo. And layers on the back one, layer options. I can turn off the right bottle. I don't really need it twice. That was making this bottle a little bit darker than it needed to be because it was one transparent bottle on top of the other. And I don't really need the salad twice either. I do need the background. That's the salad. I don't need the salad twice. Would have been a good idea for me to label that correctly. I like this better. I'm going to move this over a little bit more over this way. I don't like that 20th and century are separated. So I could either Command Option X, change that to a fixed space, or I could have put a soft return right here. This will do. I think this is a nicer shape for my text. I like the way the logo fits. I like it partially hiding behind the bottle. I like that it's just a little bit in front of this bottle. I think this signature for this layout would be better over here. And that's it. This time I'm really done. So I'm going to change the name on this and make it like a student project. Command Shift S, it would be my last name, DL8C. I'm going to save this to the desktop and then Command E export as a PDF for print. And this will be, once again, the PDF X1A 2001. It will be all pages, which is one page. Compression isn't going to matter because our image is 200 pixels per inch. Marks and bleeds, all marks and bleeds, use document bleed setting. It now says it's a PDF X1A 2001 modified. That's okay. On general, view PDF after exporting. I'll export that as a PDF. And there it is. Looks correct to me. I could move that bottle over just a little bit more. I'm not going to fuss with it anymore right now. I think it's a little close. Well, maybe I could. I'll tell you what I'll do. Right click on this, edit original, select my right bottle. Actually, you don't have to transform it. I just need to move this thing over just a little bit. And now this kind of bothers me right here. This is what we call unresolved. This little sliver there. I have to either have this up a little bit so I don't have that little corner showing there, or down a little bit. Let's try that. No, I actually liked it back the other way. I think it could be a little bit more up this way. And maybe I'll just go a little bit higher so that more of the bottom of the bottle is showing. And then I still don't have that little sliver that I didn't like. Command S, save. Go back over here. Doesn't look like it's updated, so I'll select this, which is all instances. Update all instances of that file. It's higher than I want it. Might be too large also. Let me Command T transform. I'm going to scale this down a little bit and see how that looks. Alright, I think a little bit taller. And down a little this way. And update link. I'm going to scoot these down a little bit. About there. And one more tweak. Let's try that. And updated here. That's updated. Okay, I think I like it. So again, Command S, save. And I've already made one PDF, so I really don't have to do it again because when I package it, it'll make a new one based on my last PDF settings. I think that's what I want. Let me take a look at it with the overprint preview. Yes, I like it. Command S save, Command Option Shift P package, or again, it's in the file pull down in the bottom group package. It has 3 fonts. It has 2 instances of the PSD and has the link DPS. It's 4-color process. I don't really have to worry about print settings. I'll just package this. I don't have instructions for the printer, so I'll skip that, and I will save this as my last name, DL8C PKG, because again, folder is a dumb name for a folder. Copy fonts, copy link graphics, update link graphics in the package, include IDML, include PDF for print, and the PDF preset is the PDF X18 modified because it will use the last version that I used. Package. I can ignore the font restrictions. And here's my finished ad as a PDF. I sort of like that warmer background. I maybe should change that, but I'm not going to right now. On my desktop, here is my package folder, my linked images. This is a 62 megabyte PSD file as opposed to the 91 megabyte PSD file that I started with, so that's better. My PDF, my INDD, my IDML links, and my fonts. I still have that Minion Pro there, which I sort of wonder about. I'm not sure where that is. I probably should figure out what that is and get rid of it, but I need to zip it. So I'm going to right click on this, send to compressed folder, or on the Mac, you would select it, right click, and just select compress. And you can see this is only 35 megabytes, 34.5 megabytes as a compressed file, because I tried to be economical with my PSD file. And that's what you should submit. Only the zip file or zip archive, which contains your package folder. Inside that is your document fonts folder, links folder. Instruction sheet will be empty. It doesn't really matter about that. IDML file, INDD file, and the PDF. Notice that an IDML file is only 74 kilobytes in this case, but that is something that allows InDesign. Let me click on this and open it with InDesign 2021 is what I'm currently in. I could open it with something else, but no sense opening another program right now. What it does is completely rebuild the file based on a small amount of information, 74 kilobytes of information. It can rebuild this whole thing. All the items in the layer there, I only had one layer. The links are linked, and I could then resave this as an INDD file if my original INDD file had been damaged or lost, or if I was working on InDesign 2020 or InDesign 2019 or InDesign 2018 or anything going back to about InDesign CS 3, 4, 5, or 6. That's how you make your file compatible with earlier versions. And I'm done.